Thank you.
6:15, we will call this budget workshop to order. Get the old PowerPoint going here. Show. Oops, I need to share my screen first, I guess. That would be helpful. Share screen. That works. Okay, now we got the slideshow going. Which is there. Okay, so tonight we're going to discuss the revenues, the major funds that we have. The first two I'm going to go over are the fire equipment fund and the equipment reserve. The fire equipment fund right now is being funded by a 2.5% utility tax, which we are using mostly to pay for the fire truck payments. And also any surplus items that we have that are sold go in here as well. As you'll see for 2022, that $4,302, that was the sale of the fire truck and the aid car. I don't know how much we have in the fire department that we're going to be surplusing. So maybe the public safety committee at your next meeting, you could talk to Nick and see if there's any items that they would like to surplus so we can account for that as well. The next one is the equipment reserve. That is funded by 10% of sales taxes and 5% utility tax. And it is higher than the years prior because of the increased sales taxes and the increase in utilities, because we are planning roughly a 10% increase in utility rates. So that makes these go up as well. Next one is the street fund. Streets are funded through state shared revenues, which is your gas taxes, through 10% of property taxes, and there is 6% utility tax that goes in there as well. One thing I've noticed with the state shared revenues is that those are less for 2023 than they are for 2022 overall. And these are numbers that I don't guess at. They're provided to me from the state. So I don't know how they could be going down when the state is going to be raising gas taxes next year, but that's what they're telling me. The water fund, as you can see, that's continually going up. And again, I'm estimating roughly a 10% increase in rates for water. Most of that is due to Aberdeen raising their rates plus our increased costs that go along with that. Same thing for sewer. Again, Aberdeen's passing on high increases to us, so we have to unfortunately pass those off as well. The stormwater utility. Now, when we set up the stormwater utility, it's subject to a rate increase based on the CPI. So every year I check the CPI from June to June. When I looked for this year's, it was 8.9%. So that's the rate that stormwater will go up. The general fund, on these revenues at this juncture, I estimated a $10 per month increase in EMS fees. We will have the 1% increase in property tax, which is the standard and the maximum we're allowed to take. And then the other things that are due to increase are B&O and sales tax, and that's just due to the cost of everything with inflation going up. One thing to note with the general fund, we're not balanced yet. Aberdeen is increasing our EMS contract to $32.83 per utility count. This equates to $24,720 or $296,651.88 per year. Our city insurance rates for buildings, equipment, and liability have gone up 21.77%. According to our insurance agent, the risk pool itself went up 16.5%. But the rest of it comes from the increased costs for replacement if something were to happen, and the increased property values. And our rates are really right down the middle compared to everybody else's. He said there are some cities who are going up 40% on their insurance. And honestly, I don't know how they can do that. That's a lot. This equates to roughly a $35,000 increase for the year for us. With a $10 per month increase on EMS fees, our general fund budget still has a deficit of $194,599. So we're going to take a look at our different fees and see what we can do from there and where we can cut.
Any thoughts from council? Solutions that you've devised in dreams? Anything?
It's always been a issue, we raise rates and stuff, how do the individuals that are on different incomes, we're talking about the percent here and $10 there, and all the other rates and stuff, and what does that equate to? That those on fixed incomes are going to be trying to figure out in the budgets some of the payday to payday. That's always that.
It's always it's the biggest concern, I would say, and the biggest discussion. The hard part is that the costs to do all of these projects are going to continue to go up. And I mean, adding any sort of new taxes or new fees on anybody is always difficult, but the costs coming in to the city are going up. And so we still have to pay them somehow. If we don't pass those costs through for services rendered, when the time we do, it's just going to be massive. So the longer that we take to implement some sort of incremental changes in different categories, the harder it's going to be when we actually have to. And there's options, of course. I mean, we could just not raise any sort of new taxes or new fees or anything like that. But if that is the case, then we need to have a different workshop to decide which services we're cutting. Because there's really there's no way around it. And as it sits, we're already pretty bare bones. So without raising some fees, or a lot of the fees, at least incrementally, and having a kind of a step process and going up to adjust, we're gonna have to start looking at staffing levels, and we're already very, very low as we need to add people. So it's not a fun topic by any means, but if we're doing what we are doing and providing the services we're doing, there's cost to it, and it's funded by the residents.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway from this is that this EMS fee increase that we're looking at, we're obviously looking at an increase, but something to keep in mind is in 2022, the city's been covering a lot of this cost through our reserves. And so we chose, if we all remember, we chose last year not to pass those fees on at the time to the public. Unfortunately, we're at a juncture now, we can't cover those increases anymore. And not only that, but they're increasing as well. So, you know, we've been talking the last several months about, you know, the police station needs another police officer. The public works needs another employee at least. We were hoping, you know, 6 months ago going into 23 that what position could we add? And it's, you know, if we're not looking at fee increases, we're looking at what positions are we cutting? And that's the cold hard facts of it. This is a lot of money to make up for. So like you said, even at a $10 increase, budget deficit of $194,599. That's people that, you know, we can't turn the water off to City Hall and cover that. That's several people. That's a lot of people. So, you know, I think everyone at the city's cognizant of that. We do have some shortages in staffing. And I think everyone's racking their brains on savings, but I think those are gonna add up to metaphorically pennies.
Yeah, we're at the point where switching to only grass in the pile next to shop, or mowing less, or, you know, cutting some cleaning staff, or, you know, cutting meals out of something, not gonna do anything. We're not at the nickel and dime stage. We need to catch up, and sooner or later, it's going to catch up to us. How we get there and how big of an impact is, that'll be a discussion for another workshop. But yeah, if anybody has ideas, something, it would be fantastic.
I think something else to keep in mind too is, you know, we're hoping that some certain business prospects happen in town, but we can't bank on those. We have to work with what we know. And what we have in town now. So, you know, B&O taxes couldn't necessarily lift us out of that, even if we had Costco come in tomorrow, you know, it's not feasible for that, for banking on some sort of business to pull us out of this.
And any business that did come in realistically, let's say a large business, big investment, might come in what, January, maybe, and we'll start seeing B&O taxes and things on that in September.
July.
Yeah, July,
October.
September,
If you're lucky.
so. Yeah, hopeful that,
Julie, the increases that you have up there, is that gonna be enough to?
The $10 per month increase on the EMS fees is not going to be.
No.
But we're trying to limit the impact as much as we can to the citizens. But we also have to be able to keep the doors open.
Right.
and
I just would hope people would understand the gravity of the situation. Being on a fixed income and, you know,
a lot of them, when we're talking about like $10 increases, doesn't come close,
Close to it, yeah.
which 10 would have to be a start, whether it's this coming year, after or something, but we need to catch up to inflation and the costs that are going out. And this is for beyond just this. I mean, this is the most notable one because it's the biggest impact, but when we get down to it, I mean, license fees, this, that, and the other, everything is outdated, but fixing those will come in time. Those fixes aren't going to readjust the budget.
We would almost have to do the same that everyone's charging, just to break even on that portion of it. And that's not even money coming into the city, so I have directly in and out that.
It's strictly just a pass through.
The services rendered.
And we love on Avenue for a lot of services.
We do.
That's-
And the assumption or the hope that, I mean, we'll have a completely full and capable fire staff within 2 months, 1 month, 6 months. It's not something that can be really budgeted for with that hope. I think when we were trying to do this not as a pass through, the hope was that this was going to be something quicker, and it hasn't. Now it's this is where we're at.
Where does the EMS fund go to the populated citizens? How do they know that they're getting paying that thing?
It's on your utility bill. So currently residents are paying $6.75 a month. And that amount was based on our previous contract with Aberdeen. Because our department couldn't do transports and things like that, so. So what we charged covered what Aberdeen charged us, so it's basically a wash. Since we've gone to this other contract, there's a big discrepancy. Currently, I think it's $27.96 or somewhere in that ballpark that Aberdeen is charging us. And we've still only been charging our citizens $6.75. So the city's basically been eating that $20 plus every month.
It's scourging, doesn't it? A whole lot of scourge.
Everything across the board has gone up so much this year.
I mean,
Every single thing. Yeah, every time I turn around, oh, hey, this is, 10% higher, 12% higher, whatever. It's like, holy cow.
did you say was it the insurance that was 16?
So insurance overall was 21.77%. The risk pool as a whole raised their rates 16.5%. But then you have other factors, like if you have claims, the values of your properties. And construction costs, if you have to replace those, and what limits you have set on that. So for us, he said, in looking at the whole pool, we're right there in the middle. And our insurance agent, he is awesome. I mean, he goes out, he fights for us. And so he really gets us the best rate that he can. Like I said, other cities are going up 40%. I don't have a few things. They may have had claims, their buildings are valued more than ours, they have lots of employees because you're paying for liability insurance. Plus the equipment and your structures, things like that. There's a lot of factors that play into insurance, especially for a government entity. But I will say, CIAW, who's the risk pool that we go through, they do provide a lot of services for the city, lots of free trainings. Like when you see that trailer out here for the police department, and they do those trainings, we don't pay for that, that's free as part of the services. I get access to an HR training center for free, so I can go in there and see all the latest news. The updates from the state, the federal government, and take classes on there regarding HR. And there's many other topics they do as well. They come and do risk assessments on our buildings, the parks, all of that for free. So they do provide a lot of services for them.
Yeah, so we'll have a workshop before the next meeting as well, and hopefully dive into this. Yeah, much deeper, but just want to list, I mean, we need to either make some cuts or make some increases. We're beyond the point to where it's a 5-10% cut to sale or to staffing. I mean, we need to make some decisions.
This has to be our biggest deficit we faced that I can remember all the years.
Hmm.
And that's because inflation's rising faster than our revenues are.
We got caught running with the extra fire costs, of course. I mean, it's just it's that perfect storm. We will transition into the second part of our workshop this evening, RV ordinance workshop. Brought it up, we discussed it at the meeting a couple times, but wanted to kind of flesh it out and see what the council's thoughts were and thoughts and concerns.
I got nothing, this is your floor.
I
If you had questions or concerns, let me know, otherwise I'm good with that written.
So you've seen the, at least perspective, it's on the agenda tonight, and we can talk about adjustments that you may want. We can discuss those types of things, but then the floor is the council's if you have questions, concerns.
Make sure you guys speak clearly and louder, because the audience, the owl can't hear you. It sounds real muffled, so like when I listen to the recordings afterwards to do the minutes, I can't understand what you're saying. So if you can kind of-
This kind of came about, of course, for some repeat offenders and some of the problem things, but nothing in the current municipal code really defined what sort of penalty and kind of put, no pun intended, handcuffs on the police on what they can and can't do. So
By moving that to a civil infraction. What didn't Casey?
Always the same.
Okay, but there was two, you found it in two different places, and one was the civil and one was not.
Well, that was an inference to how our code is in general as far as some other discrepancy. This particular one, wasn't that. This particular one was lacked any teeth at all. if I remember. And there was talk in the last meeting, I guess if you guys remember, that we're going to incorporate some of the new stuff into the existing one based on what you guys were going to come up with tonight. So you got.
Steve, would it make sense to change it? Wouldn't it just clean it up if we repealed those and just added this?
I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I think the issue was last time, the old one made reference to, Steve, help me out, there was an issue that the new one didn't cover, and I think it was, living, or,
work trucks.
yeah, work truck was one of the things that the new one covers that the old one didn't. Correct, oversized view. Yeah, yeah. I think that was an issue of contention, and so if you guys, this is the time if you guys want to debate that and either keep it or strike it or change it, I mean, but there was something that the old ordinance did, this one. Or made provisions for it, this one didn't, okay, I'm brain cycle.
Stephen, the one that we have here
Right.
on the screen,
No,
has that been changed?
No.
Not.
This is exactly the
Not-
thing, until you
okay.
guys instruct us.
So if we want to make changes, now would be the time to talk about it. So I remember the big hangup from a few weeks ago would be oversized vehicle.
Right,
And just to get the conversation started, I think I would recommend striking oversized vehicle from it and focus on RVs and trailers. Because I think that's been the focal point, that's what we always focus on in the group. I don't think any of us have had issues with the oversized vehicles.
I guess I would,
Yeah,
I agree with that. Do you have you had any problems with oversized vehicles? Casey?
I added it solely because there was mention of
Yeah.
last time, and someone said that would be a good idea, so I added it. But if people want it.
The issue I had with it is the Comcast workers, a PUD worker, a mechanic shop truck. Just things I think I've seen around town. You know, that is part of their employment, that, you know, they respond from their home for those things.
I get.
I don't know if you heard or not, Miles was talking about striking, you know, just eliminating the oversized vehicles and keep it to trailers and RVs.
That works just fine.
What is that?
Avoid if it's a boat. Like their efficiency and then. Like right now, people have their boats on their side. I mean, I know there's a few places that their boats. It is still a recreational. I know a vehicle, but it's a trailer, so it should be subject to the law and then. As long as there's no great. Yeah.
I know the planning commission in the past, when they worked on this. They spent a lot of time on the definitions of what would or should be included because of the problems of people trying to get by on a technicality, you know, giving Casey kind of a hard time.
Yeah, the main concern was. It couldn't be parked more than X amount of time, and so they would move it an inch.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Yeah, I think that's the way it currently reads, right, is you have 24 hours.
So I said, yeah, but I think, I think the issue was that previous ordinance specifically stated that, hey. You have an RV, you're supposed to have a place on your property to house it, and it was supposed to be constructed as such. And laid out that particular construction, bed, rock bed, or hard surfacing. Yeah, so if you guys want to include that as well, or, I think the issue was, is like, does that?
That's
does
a
that
separate
old ordinance
municipal
have enough
code area, so.
more meat to it that we can add this one to it, or vice versa, and I think that was where we kind of left off. How do we want to migrate? Over, or migrate one into the other, and if so, which one? New into old, old into new?
So the ordinance discussed, impacts 1024.020 of the municipal code, where 030 is specifically just the storage off street.
Okay,
So, that's, I mean, it's not,
so it's different,
we don't need to merge by any means.
because that's already there. It's like, hey, you buy an RV, you're supposed to have a place, not this.
So this would technically update 1024.0110 with definitions as well as 0.20, just because the definitions are included in this. Would we just move the definitions over?
The definitions in the existing code is different than.
Yeah, so, but if we just move that, the definitions portion, so item B in the proposed. Replace that in section 10, replace those definitions. And then the remainder in 20. Minus reference to oversized vehicles. Does that seem to be appropriate? Is that what I'm picking up from people?
I don't know.
Okay.
So I'm still confused as to what we're missing. Is it part of 20 that we're? What section is this missing from that?
20. States. So technically it's in 1024, but it's 1024-070 violation penalty unless otherwise specifically provided, any violation shall constitute a civil infraction. Each day any such violation is committed or allowed to continue is given, shall constitute a separate violation. Blah, 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 blah.
It's just no amounts on there.
Well, we have a penalty for violation in this one right here.
Yeah. So,
And then if it's 3 violations and impound. It's, I don't know, I'm always in favor of repealing and replacing. Just because. I don't know, it's hard to modify existing documents and to have it be coherent. At times.
so as it sits right now. If I'm hearing you, right, so. We could. Repeal items in 1024, 010, 020, and 070. 010 will be replaced by definitions listed in this ordinance. So that B section. 020 would be the meat of the ordinance. And 070 is the violation penalty. So those 3 sections are already included in this, along with the prohibited discharges, whatever. But those sections already have municipal code sections. We just, the verbiage is what would be replaced if the council wanted that.
And also why the other one says a violation is a civil infraction.
Yeah, so it would eliminate anything under those numbers and it would replace that 070 penalty with item E. Definitions would be replaced with item B. And the remainder would be included, adjusted for like taking out B, blah, 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 and moving oversight.
I think that's just a formatting.
Yeah,
Is there any reason they can't just be kept all in one? Or do they have to be segmented?
well, we already have those other ones, so we would have to repeal those 3 sections either way. Because they're
Or
already,
amended?
or amend, yes. But I think penalty is usually separated anyways.
Well, I think one of the problems is the council doesn't have the existing ordinance in front of them. So, I mean, you have it and I have it. But you don't have it, right? Yeah. So
What's the cleanest and easiest way?
I think, but in fact, Stone brought it up earlier. I thought they referred to the public safety committee. Apparently it wasn't.
We don't have a meeting.
Yeah, I don't have the minutes. So I
We
don't know.
talked about it.
Yeah,
Well, at the last
Decided
meeting,
workshop.
we didn't want to come back to public safety because we already decided, hey, this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it
that's-
needed to go to
yeah.
this because this was our idea.
But it was tabled.
Yes,
Yeah,
because of me.
Yeah. it was
Yep,
tabled.
that was me.
Yeah.
Because of the.
Me.
That was.
That was one of them. I have many issues. But that's,
So Miles, what you're saying is what you have in front of you is,
This is what public safety brought to the
Oh,
council
okay,
to
okay.
decide if they liked it or not. So like the workshop was for everyone to hash out if we had things to change in it.
We do, okay. I don't know if I'm-
So in public safety, we didn't have a discussion about altering the existing. It was to repeal and replace. So if we want to go down that path, then we have to start over or whatever. So
And if
down
it's
which
something-
path are you on?
If it's
The
something.
repealing and replacing?
You know, he's talking about.
No, if
Altering
we
this.
change the
Altering the
sections, we'll just have, we would have to go back to public safety and write it up essentially and then bring it back. to
Yeah,
council.
just let me know when you're gonna do it, and I'll show up at the meeting. I'll help you out.
Okay,
Do you want to do that?
Sure, that'll be the step. right?
I mean, we can't decide that right now, but.
No, we
Right.
already had, what's scheduled.
we have one coming up
We're having a meeting.
Yeah,
scheduled.
so
in
once,
December.
when the item comes up, you,
This for- with some of the changes we talked about and then have the altered version and then we can discuss and decide. Or,
I would take this version, the existing code, and decide what you wanna keep in the existing, and what you wanna change, and then put it all in the same chapter.
okay,
and, yeah, and then we would be meeting the next night,
The one is.
Um,
sixth.
It wouldn't have to be on the agenda for that next meeting, though. It could wait till the second meeting in December. That way, and that way Steve has time to figure out what we figure out.
Tuesday, the sixth.
Yeah. So,
Here,
yeah, so if that's something Ms. Contented we can refer to or whatever it's needed.
Well, we would have to make that decision in formal meeting, right?
Correct.
So we'll get there later tonight.
So the thing, while we're still discussing this oversized vehicle striking now, is everybody? good with,
Discussion.
We don't
You
have
can't
any
make a
problem.
decision.
Yeah.
You can only
Pardon? Yeah,
make it-
Yeah.
The council like me to email them the original ordinance.
Yes, please.
I will. I'll email that ordinance.
the original.
Yes. You have the copy of the
That's the
original?
new one.
No.
the other,
But that's
the other,
This is the one, this is the proposed, is what you have.
Old one, the current municipal code. So,
yeah.
For ease of reference. Old-
Yes, I will shoot an email out to you guys to get that.
the other thing I question on it is the 72.
Say it again?
The other question I have is the 72 hours. I know the chief has brought up that it would be easier to police. I just don't know if that's a fair thing for the citizens. Because I look at that as you bring your trailer home, say Friday night. You bring your trailer home after work, because you're gonna prep it that week, go on vacation the next week. Technically, if you store your trailer somewhere else, you could bring it home, prep it, take it back. Because if you're gonna keep it at your home for the week. To leave the following weekend, you gotta come by a permit. Okay, but you're only allowed to do that for 72 hours, and then you come by a permit where you're only allowed one permit per quarter. Correct? Yeah, current verbiage is one permit per quarter of year, so. When you go through your 3 months of summer, that quarter. You could burn up the quarter in. In one time, in one camping.
But most
trip.
people, when they're prepping for a camping trip, there's somebody who is actively in RV camping. I do it at least twice a month throughout the summer. You don't bring the trailer home and keep it there for a week. You're gonna prep at the last minute because you're stocking that fridge full of food and everything else. So it's gotta be plugged in. To be able
Yeah.
to keep that going. So if you're parking on the street, you're not plugging it in. You know, you might run off propane, but your batteries are still gonna die. So you're gonna bring it in the day before and you're gonna load it up and then you're gonna take off in this morning. So like I said, most people aren't gonna have it sitting there for a week.
Most, but.
Very, very few. If
You
you're
bring your
parking it there
trailer-
for a week,
if your
you're not
trailer-
loading it up.
If you bring your trailer home, it's been in storage, you need to wash it, clean it out, dung it out. 3 days, it's gone.
It's plenty. It's more than enough. Yeah, I have friends who store theirs in, I think it's Satsum, because they don't have, room at their house and. So they literally, a lot of times they take their stuff out to the storage. And then they load the refrigerator and shove their clothes in, hook up and off they go. So they don't have to bring it to the house.
Yeah,
So,
this, the way this is written, you got 3 days and then you buy a permit and then your trailers, you're done. That's probably happening. I don't think one permit per quarter is sufficient. I don't think.
Something to consider at the meeting. Anything further? We will close the workshop and return to regular meeting at 7 o'clock. At 7.
About everything.
PowerPoint, so I can run the PowerPoint.
Steve has to hear it again, but now you
You know,
get.
If I had known that it was in this packet here, I could have held.
You could have just done it. The previous meeting was Monday night and they didn't have, Cory was sick, so they couldn't project it, so I had to. interpret.
I had memory from the Wednesday. before. We missed it.
Oh, yeah, I missed it.
It is 7 PM and I will call the city council meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We'll start off with roll call.
Councilmember Marcus. Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Councilmember Ansick.
Present.
Councilmember Robinson.
Present.
Councilmember Wendell.
Present.
And department heads are present as well. We will go to approval of agenda. Council's pleasure.
I make a motion, we approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Starting off the meeting tonight is a presentation from Greater Grace Harbor Inc. and Lynette Buffington. Floor is yours.
Let's do next slide.
Yes, if you could please let me start. Yeah, I'm gonna share this with you.
They're here.
I don't want you guys to have to look here and there. Well, it's first of all, it's good to see you in person. As Kyle knows, I've been in this job since July of 2020, and this is the first time I've been able to do in-person municipal presentations. So you exist. It's good to see you. Happy to actually be here tonight. I know virtual was an option, but I felt when given the opportunity to come in person, I was absolutely going to show up in person. So just give you a little bit of memory refresh. Greater Grace Harbor has a municipal contract with almost all our cities individually, the county, the PUD, and the port for economic development activity. We present to you on an annual basis on how the past 11 months or 12 months have gone. And give you some of that impact pretty regular, give you that impact over the course of the year. Next slide, please. These are the 6 areas in which we focus in, and we do this on a county-wide. Next slide. The snapshot for Cosmopolis is that we have 9 members in our organization that exist in the city of Cosmopolis. But we're giving benefits, online benefits to 11. And I'll bring this up a couple times in my presentation. And that is because in spring of 2020, there was a determination that many businesses in the county had no website presence or no web-based presence at all. Facebook, website, nothing. And they were in the hospitality sector, and we were a county that was open more than the rest of the state. We were trying to connect our businesses to those tourists that were coming to our area, especially in the hospitality sector. So we manually started adding hospitality sector businesses to our online directory, giving them that member benefit at no cost to them. And we're manually sourcing those on a regular basis. We know we missed some, and we're always actively trying to add those hospitality, including better hotels, campgrounds, things like that. So that's why there's more Cosmopolis businesses getting online benefits than there are actually. When we look at how that directory performance is doing, those businesses have been searched over 2,600 times. They've been viewed over 1,200 times in our online directory. Referrals have happened 122 times. What that means on a referral is the search has clicked out to that business. Now that business doesn't have Facebook or a website. They're clicking to the directory. Individual is going to be created for them. Otherwise they're clicking out of our site and off to another location. And then their maps have been clicked on 15 times. So if you're a member of our organization, you can put a map on your website with your directory listing. by the way, you have the most website Netflix of anybody in the county. Next slide, please. The 4 areas that we've spent time in: business assistance and relief, developing the economy, promoting business, investing in our work. Next slide, please. COVID relief is still one of the highest needs. People are asking things in different ways. Before it was, can I be open? Can I be closed? Is there a grant? How to get money right now? Urgent. You know, coach me through this. There's still COVID relief questions because there's still COVID relief dollars circulating. Anything that's still out there, there usually has to be a tie back to COVID. So people are still calling us and asking us questions about it. The highest request is an access to capital. People have open minds now about their access to capital. They're willing to take loans and things like that. General business consultation. And what Steve has heard in my past presentation, and Kyle who's in the news set that listened to all my other presentations. What's unique this year is we've had 18 calls from startups. And I'm not talking like some big tech startup. I'm talking somebody that's thinking about starting a nonprofit to, hey, I got some sort of professional certification and I want to start having care, being a counselor, massage therapist, IT services, things like that. So that is remarkably new. There's still a lot of calls that probably aren't in here at all that are just, I want to start a business. We ask them, you know, what do you want to talk about? Where are you from? They're like, don't you tell me what, you know, send me a letter or something. We have people that don't want to spend a lot of time with us and we pass them on. I think we've had 11 calls related to Cosmopolis. Next slide, please. This is a very, very tiny slide, but you can tell that the highest interest on business, the highest frequency on assistance is nonprofits. Professional services being second. Professional services, a huge bucket of categories. It's ranging from that massage therapist, you know, that wants to start to someone that has IT services. So it's a really broad sector. Food and beverage, previous years, that line went way off the page. Now that's starting to reduce. Next slide. Small business grants, we were able to, with the CDBG, a community development block grant, push out about $30,000 in grants last year. CDBG grants for businesses are burdensome to apply for. Both the household income and the business income have to meet some thresholds. It's hard to push those dollars out. We've asked the county to give us one more shot at it. There's a couple things that have changed that might make it easier for us to get those dollars out. So we're asking for one more shot to get the balance of those dollars out to small businesses. There has to be a COVID impact tie back. But there's some things, like I said, things that have changed and might make it easier. Other things that have hit the ground here that we've been promoting or facilitating, there was festival and events grants. We had about 5 or 6 festivals and events in this county get some dollars. Working Washington 4 and 4.5 came in since I last talked to you. Working Washington 5 is in its final stages right now. People should be getting award notices. Commerce asked us to partner with them and help some of those businesses get what's called a UEI number now. UEI has replaced DUNS and it becomes a federal requirement to get any money. And so really hard on small businesses to register with the federal government to get dollars. So we've been working with folks on that. There were some fisheries grants and then a fund that ends at the end of March that I'm promoting as much as we can. It's called the Small Business Flex Fund. Closes at the end of March. It's a small, low interest business loan revolving loan file. Next slide, please. And these are the 4 areas in developing our economy: BRE, business retention and expansion, entrepreneurial development, business attraction, and tourism economic development. Next slide. We're able to get out and visit with 23 businesses. These are larger employers. We check in. How's it going? How's your revenue going? What are some concerns? What are some things that are going well? Are you expanding? Are you hiring? What are your needs? Just a general touch point with these folks. If there's an issue that they need support with that we can offer support on, then we're going to try to plug them into the right systems and services for that. Next slide. And then BRE and recruitment. These are some areas where we're plugged in as an organization. You should know that the 0.09 fund exists. We are now the front porch of the 0.09 fund. So when applications come in from eligible entities, they come in through us. We ensure their completion and consult with county legal to make sure they're eligible so that they can go on through the review process. Many of you know, but hopefully know that there is a broadband action team being stood up by the county. As the county is the convener A bat is a legitimate thing in the state. Other counties are doing them as well. We have Washington State Broadband Office, so this is, we're partnering with Wazoo Extension. So this is about making sure we can streamline that broadband expansion throughout the county in an equitable and efficient way. Community informed economic development. Months and months ago, we sent out a survey to ask the business community, what do you want to see in the community? And so we have that data now, and we cross-checked it with what's compatible, what's wanted, and what's here. And then the second stage of that feedback, where now that we have that list of what's compatible, what's here, what people want, we're now asking people of that list, pick your top 10. I'm still taking feedback, so if any council members would like me to send that next level, or even Kyle can send it out, we would love additional feedback. It doesn't hurt for more people to participate in this process. We kind of hit a barrier, people stop responding, so we'd love to get more. And then I have a statewide economic development association I'm very involved in, 2 big committees, workforce housing. How we can build any type of housing possible, and we're still going to be in a deficit in the county. So we're on I'm on a housing committee. And then specifically what's happened over the past 2 years is the states notice rural counties, rural economies are very different. And what programs designed with King County in mind don't translate to, let's say, Grace Harbor, or Lewis, or wherever. So,
Anywhere else. in the world.
or we're anywhere else in the world, fair enough. But we pounded the counter enough. And we're able to get a rural economies work group as well. We can talk about how special. Yeah, that's like. Businesses trained. So this is something we're finally able to pick up again. We did the last one in like March of 2020. So this is about getting out, training the business community, providing entrepreneurial training, growth opportunities for small businesses. And it's something that after reviewing as many grant applications as we did, we knew we had data about what needed, what deficits folks had. So we partnered with it. This was all free to anybody that wanted to participate. We did a virtual series with Timberland Regional Library. That library system pays a huge amount of dollars for databases and search engines for things like market research if you're going to write a business plan, or free trainings for your employees to train them up on commonly used software. So we did some workshops with that online. I mentioned that UBI number really hard on businesses. We did a training online with that. And then we did a 6-part series work called Ask the Expert, funded by the Community Foundation, where we took people in the business community that were proficient in doing well at something like marketing and invited the business community to come in and pick their brain and talk to them. So John Cernata from Grace Harbor came in. We had folks come in and talk about how to hire and retain and train talent. And we look forward to being able to probably do something. This was done over a series of Mondays at lunch. That people too. We hope to do, if we can use the surplus of the funds into the next year, we hope to do a 1-day small business summit. Next slide. Business attraction, we work with State Department of Commerce, the port, the PUD, and local municipalities and property owners on business attraction. I always equate this to a dating kind of relationship, because we get these requests in from Commerce and say, do you have land and personnel and proximity and resources that meet our profile? And then I send back our profile, if we're even close on that. And sometimes you have a first date and sometimes you don't, a couple days and you get ghosted. It's this whole back and forth, and you go on these, you have these conversations for a very long time. I've inherited inbound projects that were here long before I was, and we're still working through whether or not they can cite the project here. So that's how those projects typically come in. I don't submit a property or a site without engagement from that property owner or that site. What's new in the past 12 months, I've had more people call me independent of going through the official Commerce methods and saying, hey, I'm a broker, I got a guy who wants to buy land with us. I've had more of that this year, and there's a few active conversations. We also produce our own economic vitality index. It's data on our community. We promote it in June, or we feature it in June. And we send that out across the globe to site selectors. Everywhere we're always adding to a list, so people are aware what's going on. Next slide. Overall, across the county, we worked on 11 improvement projects. Again, going back to that analogy, some work out, some don't. That capital expenditure was 290 million, represented 1,370 jobs. And then these are the two projects I'm at liberty to talk about. A lot of stuff is confidential. There is a barge builder / seafood reprocessor that is very interested in being here along a very big river and pursuing a site, and they're looking for a long-term site here. And then an additional one that's light manufacturing into the product industry that was looking here. And then tourism economic development, we are not the visitor information center or anything official. The county has its own office. Doesn't mean people don't show up on our front door, and we still give them, you know, resources that we do have. What's important to us is we have a large segment of our industry in the hospitality tourism sector. So we want to connect the tourist with those businesses, like I talked about a couple of times before. We produce original content that goes out to the both visitors and locals alike love. Anything under the Discover Grace Harbor handle is ours. The county's Visit Grace Harbor, just so you know the difference. There might be somebody in this room related to the person totally responsible for all that content creation. And we're really proud of it. So it's Facebook, Instagram, and a whole visit tab on our website. Next slide, please. So on that visit tab, go ahead and hit the next one. Oh, that's what we did in 2022. We added members to the directory. You see up there in business directory, that's where you find it. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right, so in 2022, we kept on adding those businesses. We worked on a bit of a hack to our website, so you can see our cities separately. Again, we continued the project I told you about before. We created original content, original blogs. We've had 25 blogs that we've created. We're again writing the content. Where to walk your dog, rainy day in the harbor, where to best bakeries, microbrews, and whatever it is. We've featured 171 businesses. And last year we bought some ads in markets outside the area as well. Business listing page views overall, so on that directory, let's just 65,000 categories search. So someone says, you know, dog, veterinarian, or whatever it is, 57,000 plus times. Viewing pages 77,000 times, and business referrals clicking out. And promoting businesses. These are the 3 key areas we work in. Next slide. When a business joins the organization, so we are a member organization and funded by public dollars, public-private partnership. We write a blog post about it. And so that's evergreen content for that business. They can use that blog post for as long as our website's up and use it in their marketing. And we also buy them a Facebook ad when they join. And then we get really excited when we can have an event, finally, after years. So we brought Leaders Banquet back, and we were able to give out the awards, which is a tremendous opportunity. Let's see who we got over here. We have 2 cool sportswear out of Ocean Tours, one new the Small Business of the Year, Pause, one Nonprofit of the Year, First Citizens, Large Business, Honda Grace Harbor Best Decorated Table, and Mount Olympus Brewing Business of the Year, which the really great story is in 2019 when we did this, they were new business. So they endured and advanced quite a bit. Next slide. And then we're able to do events finally in person, like I mentioned. Last year, we had to move the legislative send-off to virtual at the 11th hour. That will be in person. That will we have all our legislators come in, talk about their goals for legislative session. And then that's what the calendar of the year does look like. You might be the first city I'm saying this to. I can confidently say we're bringing back Showcase Grace Harbor next year. We've been around as a tour of industries. So I can predict here that it will come back in fall of 23. A couple things, go ahead, next slide. We do ribbon cuttings, a ton of ribbon cuttings, 26th of February, 74% of those folks convert to new membership. And then investing in tomorrow's leaders, we both have Leadership Grace Harbor and Greater Grace Harbor Foundation. Leadership Grace Harbor 6-month leadership principal course. We partner with the college on that. We were able to do it virtual and in person this year, meaning all the classes were virtual, and then we did civic tour in person. which was really important. We'll do it again this year, probably in the same format in 2023. What's great about the virtual option is that it has brought us the largest representation, geographic representation, and participation. We can get more people involved than just people moving around the port cities. Next slide. And then Greater Grace Harbor launched a C3 or C6, and we have a C3. So we do raise dollars for career training for connected learning opportunities. We raise dollars so we can give grants out to programs that do workforce training for our youth. Next slide. We're, like I mentioned, we're a membership organization. When I made these slides, we were 10% where we were this month in 2019. Now we're 8 to 8.5% below, so we're recovering quite well. What's really important to me about that data is they said in the middle of the pandemic that 50% of the nation's chambers would go away. So we're doing great. We also have a member dues relief fund, so if a member can't pay their dues, we can find a way to subsidize that. Again, we provide for last time I ran the numbers, about 16% of those folks that we put in the hospitality didn't have a workers presence. 2022 highlights, we have a really talented team. That's how we're getting so much done. We're able to get out and be out in the community for the first time in a long time. And we've really tried to carve out a place in the community to train and assist us. Next slide. Going forward, some highlights. If you've been around a while, there used to be something called an economic development district that unfolded maybe in 16 or 17. That has been approved by the USDA or the EDA, excuse me. And so we will be having an EDD, which is a multi-county economic development district. That's going to make it one step easier and look more favorable if we look at large federal grants. We'll be working very hard to build our government affairs. I want you all to know that as city council members, we do a legislative affairs briefing every week during legislative session. You are invited to come to that. You can just on Zoom, you can be as disengaged or as engaged as you want to be. And so that I usually send it out to city council at the top of the year or right before the end of the year, once I know my schedule. And we're gonna just ask for the Zoom link every week and we try to have our legislators there. We have congressional reps, usually staffers, and we usually have somebody from an industry giving us the highlights of legislative session. And then, of course, we're going to advocate heavily for infrastructure investment. That is it. For faster, maybe then I'll welcome to take part. Steve, how do I do some homework?
You know, it was faster.
Yeah.
Any questions from the council?
Should
Thank you very much.
If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. If you know a business that needs help, have them call it. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're welcome to hang out if you'd like, but
Not a-
we understand.
All right, take care, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. We will now move on to it's time for scheduled public hearing on property taxes and the budget. We need a motion to open that hearing. We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I request a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to open the public hearing regarding property taxes and budget. If the public has comments, concerns, questions, now is the time to voice them. Suggestions? Now's the time. Oh, yes, all in favor of opening the public hearing? Any opposed? So passed. Everything I just said. Now it's just open. Now is the time for the public to comment. Not seeing anybody jump up for this. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. Now moving on to just general public comments regarding agenda items. This is the time for the council to comment on items on the agenda, either in person or via submitted email public comments.
I do have a submitted comment. It's from Ashley Archangel on Ocean Avenue. She says, the request for the vacation of the street on the agenda for November 16th, 2022. I am not opposed to the vacation in any way, but wanted to point out that the street is longer than 150 feet and is a dead end. It would require an approved area for turning around fire apparatus in accordance with ICC Fire Code 503.2.5 dead end. I believe that the city needs to ensure that fire codes are being enforced during the planning and construction of new and existing structures.
Thank you. Any other comments on agenda items? Seeing nobody jump up, we will move on to consent agenda, claims vouchers, meeting minutes of the November 2nd council meeting and workshop.
Make most we approve the consent agenda.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Committee reports. We'll jump around a little bit. We'll go to public safety first.
No meeting, no report.
Public works.
Hey, we have a meeting and we had a meeting and I have a report. Yeah, take that, Miles.
There we go.
Yeah, we had a very brief meeting tonight, going over some preliminary budget stuff. With the revenues, the way the forecast is looking, it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna probably have another meeting next week when Jeff gets some more numbers. Still kind of trying to buck for getting some extra, not extra help. Adding a body. To get them the help they need. Not sure how that's gonna look yet, but we're gonna try our damnedest. That's all we can do is try. Anything else, Jeff, Darren? Anything else that you guys can think of?
I don't have anything.
Candace? No?
Perfect.
So, yeah, and I will have another report at the next meeting, so there. Public safety better step up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Mark your calendars.
Yep.
Parks, Rec and Cemetery. Finance Subcommittee.
All right, so we touched on this during the budget workshop, but we discussed a lot about the current EMS fees. And possible solutions. So those are things we're gonna be bringing up in the next few council meetings. So we're gonna have to try to hash that out and figure out how we're gonna fund well, not only the EMS fee, but just everything else. Let's see here. That was the main crux of the conversation. There's not a lot else to discuss out of finance. It's, I touched on this again earlier, but we're at a point where we need to add staff and we're kind of facing a wall where, we either need to make cuts or increase EMS fees. So that's just what we're discussing.
Thank you. I'll touch on the RFA meeting in my report. But we will jump onto city official reports and city administrator Darren Reigns.
Thank you, Mayor. Map
Oh,
for me,
yes.
to show everybody. This is an explanation on the proposed vacation of part of High Street. And this is just at this point preliminary, bringing this to your attention and the reasons why we're looking at this. This is the first of many steps we've got to get through to be able to vacate the property. Or right away. Right. Right here, you see High Street from Highway 101 out to the South Shore Levee. The property here, it says new business property. There's a large business looking to go in there where they would like to enter the property off of I Street. what we have now is an 80-foot right of way. A standard city right of way is 60 feet. So we have many properties or many roadways within this city that have back in the 70s or probably 60s even, those 80-foot right of ways vacated 10 feet on both sides. And so what they did is shrunk it down from 80 to a standard road. And so here, those two yellow boxes, you see, we're trying to take off 10 feet on both sides of the roadway. For the new property or new business, and then the two parcels on the other side, the north side, which is owned by the same person.
You know the next one?
Please. Yes. So this is the very high-tech part of the presentation. This is an old plat map. See the red crosshatched area you see? Those are roads within the city. And you can see on some of those.
Do we need to scroll down a little bit or?
Yeah, you could say, but they'll say 80, 60 for the right way.
How's that, Bear?
That's great, thanks, Julie. And so the red area are streets that have already been taken care of over the years where they were already brought down to 60 feet. And you'll see the area in yellow up here on 8th Street. That is by our main pump station down there. And then the property next to it is the subject area where the new business would go in. So or actually, yeah, that yellow one is.
It's,
Here, I'm trying to zoom in. Can you see?
what are you looking to?
So yes, that is our treatment plant, right, or old treatment plant, pump station now. So the property, this side of it is the one where the business will go in. The issue we have with that property is where the sewer runs, what was through the old platted alleyway. That was vacated years ago, probably, we're guessing in the 50s to warehouse. And so we do not have a utility easement for our utilities that are already there. So been working with the property owner, talking about some ideas. Maybe exchange of connection fees and in lieu of paying connection fees. We would give them, they would give us an easement. It's something we could have drafted up and brought before the council for consideration. The other part of it was vacating that part of the street, which would be better for us for traffic safety, for them coming in off of I Street, entering the property, ingress and egress would be much safer than cutting in off of. That is something that's going to be coming up over the next probably month or so. I know it's going to be busy with the holidays. Second meeting of this month, we've got budget. I want you to be aware of this. We may need to have a workshop to discuss it further. And there's some issues Steve's got to look at as well on some legalities of vacating a part of that road that attaches to basically the water, which is not legal unless you jump through a lot of hoops, because you can't take away public access. We do have public access in other areas, so there's some research that needs to be done on Steve's part. We will report on that. Any questions on kind of why we're looking to do this, or?
So does that, the sewer line going through that property also passes through underneath the old barber shop? Does it go through that property as well?
Yes, and then ends down on J Street. So what the area we're talking about is I to H Street. That goes right into the pump station. So that is a main trunk line that picks up what used to be a large house there. There used to be two houses on that block. And then there was one business where the barber shop's at. And I think one other time there was another house back in there towards J Street many years ago.
But that's what the easement for is, for the pipe in the ground.
Yes,
Is that what's for?
yes. It's an 8-inch sewer main that's in there,
And then you said it dead ends on J,
J Street.
serving the resident that's butts the dike right there then, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's the end of the line.
So we've got a few obstacles to work through. It's doable. But we're, the property owners looking to probably get something going this next year. Things will slow down a little bit because of COVID and the price of materials going through the roof. Being able to even get surveyors or people out there to do some of the work.
Is that something, do you think that should be relocated? Is it, where is it in the sewer line?
It's in where the alleyway is, right in the middle of that block. I wish I had.
You think that's something that should
It would
we
be,
look at moving it
it's
as for
about 5 feet
development?
deep, it would be extremely expensive. We're probably looking at 200,000 to 300,000. Just because of the depth. And all that. And rerouting it and. If we knew. If we just had the houses on J Street, nothing else potentially could go into it, we would convert it to pressure line and relocate it easily. But because of what they would like to do there and potential on the next block, we don't want to hinder any potential with them.
Does that help, Darren? I kind of zoomed in on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's great, thank you. You can see the kind of cross hatch area above where it says Waco. On block
Okay.
12. It's right in there. See, it's cross hatch, that's, back then, that was what the city did to show, the street vacation.
Darren, are you talking about that open lot right across the way from Vance Heating and Air, that big open?
Yes,
If I'm correct, the company what is thinking about going in there is the wine cellar company downtown.
yeah, it's business close to it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, to help you guys out, how you were
Yeah.
explaining what company.
Yeah, we've been in contact with them and their architect
Yeah,
at this point, and even initially a surveyor, so
Do you know when that was vacated?
I'm guessing Steve, probably in the 50s. We can't find anything in our records here.
Okay, because usually when you vacate and there's existing utilities, you reserve them in the ordinance.
And the funny thing, and that's what concerned me, is a lot of the sewer mains in the flats area around Cosmopolis were replaced around 1980 with the grant, in combination with the city of Aberdeen. URS did a lot of work.
Yeah, I remember one.
So since that was vacated, that line was put in. Replaced an old,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's what just threw us for the loop when we found out that. That was
Yeah.
vacated property, and how did that?
Yeah, how did it happen without?
That's not a
Yeah.
grandfather. But if we don't have proof that it was vacant. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things at play here, and I just wanted to bring this forward to you to start thinking process. See if we can get done with this in the near future. I think there's some great opportunities, both blocks there, 12 and 13. We first need to correct that.
Is there any benefit for the city having such a wide?
For 80 feet,
Yeah,
no, because 60 feet is the standard.
but it doesn't like serve a purpose for us that we can think of.
No, as you can see, like those crosshatched areas. And you'll see, good example is I Street, you'll see how the sidewalks set. Then you'll see a lot of folks where their yards. It's
Yeah.
flat and it goes back up into the yards, basically at the elevation of their foundation. I Street is listed as a state arterial from Highway 101 to Altano and then up Altano. But that's only one of two arterials we have, that one and Highway 101. So there's really no benefit. And it would not totally block access to the waterfront. They could still go climb the levee and which they do now and walk. And back there's a nice park bench there. That the people sit on.
I think it's the new metal one.
Yeah.
Right there.
So that's where we're at. Steve and I will kind of dig into this some more, and then if you have any questions, let us know and. We can talk about it in public words, and if public safety would like to talk about it, I can bring it up, talk about it at 6. I know we're gonna have a busy agenda, but why not? So the last thing is, we had our first meeting yesterday with HDR on, the multi-objective plan. We went through, Jeff and I with the engineers, with the culverts. I went out on the levee, looked at their tide gates, looked at the problem flooding areas, and so we've, I think, relayed the issues we're having to HDR, and so they're starting to brainstorm on some potential projects for us going forward. So we'll be having public meetings with them, I think, twice throughout the study, so you'll have a chance to be able to speak with them as well. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Director Julie Pope,
I'm good. No report tonight.
Chief Casey Stratton.
Couple things tonight. First, I guess I'll start with the announcement that I will be retiring on effective the 31st of December. So that'll be my last day here, a working day, and I'm taking a job in Aberdeen as not a cop, but doing something after almost 32 years. So I've made my recommendation for my replacement to the mayor. That's up to his consideration. Ultimately, it's a decision to do whatever he wants, but it's been an honor and privilege to work with each and every one of you throughout many, many years. And so I'm not checking out. I'm going to be doing that 100%, giving it my go, which is about 50% of everybody else's for the remainder of the time I'm here. Additionally, we've got some issues with some vehicle maintenance, kind of in a lull right now. And we're looking at, we used to take ours down to Empire. We have a very good service contract with Maxwell. He is back in business, but not as his own, in a subsidiary kind of thing. We're trying to iron out some wrinkles there, but I think we'll be able to get basically our own mechanic back, which is great news. Basically service manager. So we're still working on details for that. Ryan Muscal, I'd like to thank him. He stepped up personally quite a bit in the leadership of the department regarding the reserves. The Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission has recently sent out some information regarding reserves, making it even harder for us to maintain our program. And so I think it's unlike I don't know what's in their mind. I can only guess that has to do with everything that's been going on in the world for the last couple of years. So I think what they're trying to do is have the reserves have exact training as a regular officer in time and investment. So when we host a reserve academy, basically, if they allow us to still host the reserve academy and we graduated reserve from that new criteria, would be under the same set of rules that someone would if they were to just go to the full-time academy. So our question to them is then why don't I just hire them as full-time officers? Which would be shooting themselves in the foot because then they don't get the move. But anyway, I guess that's just something that is in its infancy as far as the many different connotations of how it's going to be written. So we'll keep you informed the best we can. We got our radar trailer back working again. We put it up in Councilman Ray's yard, and to his report, I think it was fairly effective. I think Joe was the primary offender, taking that wheelchair about 26 miles an hour. About it. And other than that, that's not all I got for this evening. Other than we had a discussion on a workshop with them. I'm requesting that we kick that back to the Public Safety Committee and we'll review terms on the SIP.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. Interim Fire Chief Darren Rains and or Nick, anything from the fire department?
I'll just say that, these guys have been busting their tail over in the department. If you walk over there, take a look. You know, what you would see today versus a couple of weeks ago is drastically different. They're doing a lot of cleanup, getting a lot of things back into compliance, that hadn't been done, for a while. And there's, you know, the volunteers, not only the active responding volunteers have been showing up, but there are support volunteers that have been showing up, so that's just great. And you go over there, over there today, over there yesterday, and they're having fun, they're working their tail off. So, Nick and Mark and the guys, you guys did an outstanding job, we appreciate you very much. Was there anything you want to add with that?
So we're getting some medical training back up so that our agencies are going to be forward in county system certified that way. Yeah, trying to clean up, get ready for PB and city hall and over.
You took delivery of my. Took delivery of my.
Yeah, but all the time we'll look at that. Yeah. Yes, we've got that in place now. There's another.
Full station.
Yep. That's your air test came back today. With another pallet of tiles. Cement tiles.
They're picking those up, I think.
Okay, I thought they were moved tonight, so I didn't.
Don't come.
Okay. Yeah.
For the
There's a lot happening. That's. I told Mark replace everything I own the station. Yeah.
We need the preference support volunteers. We did see a little bit more than that.
Yes, these are folks that probably or will not be, you know, like being responding volunteers, but
Yeah.
that they won't.
Their intent is not to be a full volunteer, but they want to help out.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Yeah, they're doing a lot of cleanup of the station. They do a lot of inventorying of turnouts, things like that. And just being a body there. Very, very important, very helpful.
Been pivotal.
Yeah.
Moving forward, Public Works Superintendent Jeff Nations.
I just have a couple things. We just finished up today. We got a little cleanup left to do, but we had a home on the end of F Street that had a sewer line that actually ran underneath the home next to it. Somehow it was built over top of it, but it started failing. So we found out about it several months ago, but we were able to keep it clean and everything was fine, but we just finally rerouted it out in the street 160 feet later. And the guys have been working really hard. So there was a lot of stuff underground. And they did a great job of getting it done. So that's finally behind us. I'm hoping by the beginning of December, we're gonna start putting meters in again. Jim mentioned about the help. I mean, we all know it's needed, but we also know how the budget is, so it'd be great if we can. Should be really useful, but that's about all I got.
Jeff, how did we fare with the storm a couple weeks ago?
I think we had in 3 days, we had over 8 inches of rain. The normal flooding, Main Street, I Street. It went down fairly fast this time, kind of. Once it quit raining, it did all right. We were surcharged plant for probably 20 hours or better. And then it came down really quick as well, so. Yeah, it just, you know, we had the dam set pretty good to where, you know, it held enough water back. And then once it quit raining, you know, it was able to keep back up. Thankfully it quit. You know, so.
Got a good question for you. Now, did you?
None, yeah. Moving on to mayor's report. Now we'll try to keep it brief. I already discussed some of the budget discussions we've got. As far as the RFA committee, I got the chance to serve as the acting chair at the recent planning committee meeting because Chair Debbie Ross wasn't able to make it. But one of the biggest things in a lot of the discussion, I thought that was notable to mention, most of the meeting was just minor changes to the plan, but there was a good presentation, I thought, from Fire Chief Matt Miller on how a volunteer aspect could be included if the RFA was approved by voters. So he had a good layout of how it could work, plans and what the timelines and everything are. So it's very good. I haven't got a copy of that yet. Okay, he was gonna send it over and so we can kind of show the council. It is very much in the planning stages, but as the council had discussed, it lays out what it looks like rather than just at one point we'll have something down there. So I thought they did a very good job and worked with Nick to set that up. And the now combined Central Grace Harbor firefighters, professional firefighters.
Local 315.
Yeah, they have combined the unions of the two cities already into a central thing, and the union vice president Derek Johnson was there talking about the volunteer aspect and had kind of voiced his approval of the plan from the union side, which I thought was encouraging. That having that aspect and it was a good step forward. That'll be kind of updated before it goes to the public and dissemination. I was on the RTPO meeting this morning. And the agenda had some decisions on priority projects, and I thought it was just good to mention that the US 12 Highway Rail Separation Project, East Aberdeen overpass to mitigate for trains and things is still ranked very high at the top of the priority list. And this is for Grace Harbor, Pacific, Cowlitz, Wahkiakum, I mean, Southwest Washington, all and Rainier, Oregon. But just Rainier, Oregon. That they were all had it ranked high. So I thought that was very encouraging because that's a project that would help all of us. And the only last comment I have, because we won't be here, just happy Thanksgiving to all. Hopefully everyone's surrounded by friends and or family next week. Other than that, that's all I got. So we will move on to old business. Ordinance 1378 and RV parking is on the agenda. What is the council's pleasure?
Send it back to Park City.
Exactly.
Moved to send the RV parking ordinance 1378 to public safety for discussion at a later meeting. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So pass. New business, ordinance 1379 in the 2023 property tax levy. Julie.
This is the annual ordinance that we do to authorize the 1% increase every year for our property taxes. And this is the maximum amount that is allowable by law. Basically it. Not too much to it. So would you like the ordinance read or title only?
By title only, please.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Carlisle to read by title only. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Will pass. All used.
Okay, ordinance number 1379, an ordinance relating to property tax setting and levying the property tax levy for calendar year 2023.
Julie, as far as amounts, what are you looking at?
So the increase for the 2023 calendar year is $4,519.34. So on average, I think this last year it was $440,000 that we collected. So this is 1% of that amount. And of course, that's exclusive of additional revenue resulting from new construction, improvements, wind turbines, solar, biomass, geothermal facilities, and any increase of value of state assessed property. or annexations, that type of thing. And refunds, which is the next item on the list.
What is the council's pleasure on ordinance 1379?
Make the motion to approve.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve ordinance 1379. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Refund levy approval. I believe.
So in your agenda packet, you should have two sheets. One is regarding the city of Cosmopolis basic levy. And this is a refund levy in the amount of $3,951.86. I'm asking the city council for approval to collect those property taxes. The other one is on the bond for the fire station. We are owed $1,477 on that one. And again, I'm asking council permission to approve those.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the refund levies as presented to fire station and for the city of Cosmopolis basic levy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. Yeah, street vacation discussion.
Yeah, just real quick, the next process, if the council like us to keep pursuing this, Stephen and I will determine first if this is something that will fit within the law to do it, because it is by the waterfront. We would then have to hold a public hearing. And then we would have to get some paperwork from the people requesting the vacation. So then we would bring that forward to you. So I guess my question is, we're not looking for action, but is it something you would like to have us continue to look at?
You have to take action on that.
I just guidance, I guess, just advisory.
I would say, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the city to continue these discussions on the street vacation.
moved by Councilman Wenzel, seconded by Councilmember Ansich. He started saying it first, to continue discussions and research on the street vacation. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed, move forward henceforth. Council comments. Councilman Marcus.
I have that.
Wow. Councilman Carlisle.
Nothing.
Councilman Rancich.
Well, let's see. RFA meeting for the city of Causey residents, still thinking January-ish, get through the holidays. Kind of circle back, maybe get notice out to the residents. I've been hearing kind of above, like, what's going on, I've been asked actually, what's going on with the RFA, what's going on with the RFA? So are we still on target, you believe, to have another informational kind of gathering at the fire station for Causey residents to come hear where the plan is at?
Yeah, I don't see any issue. I mean, we've been making pretty good progress and getting this, kind of the volunteer framework at least set up. I think is a really good step. So, yeah, by January, we should be at a point to where we'll be kind of starting a informational sharing, and we can do a very specific Cosmopolis one as well as.
I think the residents, yeah, the few that have talked to me about it, I think they would really like it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, and you could also tell them that they're welcome to come to the meetings.
They're incredibly dry, but.
Second
Yeah.
Thursday of the month, correct?
Second Thursday, yeah, it has been the second Thursday at,
We have that
at fire
fixed,
station.
so-
That's all I got.
All right, so I think we're at the point with our fire department and our volunteers, we're responding to calls now. It's excellent. so we're getting out there and we're doing things, we're having meetings, with the crew, so I would implore once again, for citizens. Not only at Cosmopolis, but Aberdeen and Oakland as well, if they're interested in being a firefighter, why don't you start with us? Get out here and start volunteering, some of us have wives, husbands, significant others. Maybe children over the age of 18 still living at the house. They should come down and talk to the crew down here. And see what it's all about. So it's a great opportunity to give back to your community. And that's what I have for tonight.
Perfect. Public comment this evening, open to any comments from the public. We just ask that you kind of keep it to 3 minutes and introduce yourself at the beginning. You've been waiting patiently, Joe.
Yes, I
Floor is yours, but introduce yourself for the record.
Joseph DeBauer, I got some good exciting news for all you guys. I know most of you, board does not know me that good. I was in, and I know you typically have been waiting for the good exciting news. We got full custody of our baby. Case is totally dismissed with CPS.
Perfect.
We go in front of the court at 9, hoping 9 o'clock in the morning on next Wednesday to totally get it dismissed.
Perfect. Another permanent resident to Cosmopolis.
Yep.
You old enough to be a firefighter?
Don't worry, I'm gonna put him into that when he gets older.
Perfect. That's great news, Joe. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none. It is 8:01. We'll call the meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone.